Revenge is a concept almost universally repeated in the works of Akira Kurosawa. For a large portion of Kurosawa's filmography, revenge is the driving force of the film. And sure, there are more subtle approaches in some films, relegated to side plots and the likes, but the theme never fails to earworm itself into the audience's head. The question, more often than not, is it really worth it? Kurosawa creates characters blinded by revenge and jealousy, and the two coincide much more often than you might think. Ran depicts the fragmentation of Hidetora's identity as karma for Hidetora's past crimes, through the revenges extracted by Katie, who exemplifies the female agent of vengeance, writes Eric Dodson Robinson. This film is a perfect adaptation of King Lear and a perfect example of revenges on revenges creating a web of cruelty and betrayal. It's Akama believing that Teiko is in love with Kameda and literally going mad with jealousy. Sarah Yoon writes, if Akama struggles with her emotions for Teiko, who does not return her passion, Akayo is torn between her love for Kameda and her hate, induced by pride and jealousy, for her rival Teiko. This bizarre love triangle is concluded by a culmination of jealousy and revenge. I barely even need to mention The Bad Sleep Well, where the entire plot revolves around Nishi getting revenge on the corporation that took his father's life. Revenge is such a central point to The Bad Sleep Well that, G writes, the spectator begins to understand the motive for revenge, albeit even before Nishi has revealed his inner thoughts directly, via that ubiquitously foreboding wedding cake and the reporters chattering in the very first scene of the movie. Suffice to say, Kurosawa films tend to be driven by, if not focused on, this idea of revenge and hatred. Other filmmakers can use things like love or coincidence to incite conflict and drive a plot forwards, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a Kurosawa film that doesn't, in some way, involve this idea of revenge. Now, I don't think this means Kurosawa is a misanthrope, actually quite the opposite. There's a quote from Kurosawa from a rare interview between himself and Mani Petgar. When asked about the concern for human situations in his films, Kurosawa responded, "When there is talk of humanity in Japan, everyone thinks of complex subjects and stories. However, what an ordinary human feels, we try to project on the screen in an honest way. That's all." In this way, it seems as if Kurosawa believed that vengeance wasn't a possessive force or an obsession, simply an extension of human nature. If a filmmaker is dedicated to presenting humanity as it stands, vengeance is an inevitability. So, with the reasons established, does Kurosawa believe in revenge? Or does he convey it as fruitless and detrimental? The next logical question is, of course, is it worth it? And the answer is, sorta. Honestly, the question is somewhat without an answer. Have you ever gotten revenge on someone you thought deserved it? If you have, you'll know the feeling. If not, you'll have to take my word that it's perfectly conveyed in Kurosawa's films. Lady Katie inherits power and exacts bitter revenge on Lord Hidetora, who had destroyed her clan and family in war, but she's eventually murdered in cold blood by Jiro's general. Nishikoichi has the company that murdered his father on the ropes, with a press conference set to expose them within the day. His plan for revenge also works, but the woman he loves inadvertently gives away his position, and he's killed, staged to look like a suicide no less, the same as his father. That's right, if you ever get revenge on someone in your life, you will invariably die. Not really, obviously. The real message about revenge comes not in narrative form, but in a much more metatextual way. A way that makes you feel like there should be more, but in reality, the only thing left is you and your thoughts. All these films centered around revenge end the same way from the audience's eyes. Abruptly and somewhat unsatisfying.